So, the company man is all about this guy, Hyeong-do, and his sidekick, Ra-hoon. They're on a mission to take out a target. In this gig, Ra-hoon's the one who has to do the dirty work, getting up close and personal with the target, while Hyeong-do plays lookout from the car, keeping an eye on everything. Ra-hoon does his thing like a total pro, sneaking into the building where the targets are hanging out and showing off his killer hitman skills by taking out not just the target, but also the guards. Plot twist. Out of the blue, as Ra-hoon is getting ready to make his escape after getting the job done, he gets jumped by none other than Hyeong-do himself. Just when you thought you had it all figured out, right? Before things go south for Ra-hoon, he's all like, "Why are you trying to off me, man?" He starts guessing that maybe the company pulling the strings behind their mission set him up for this deadly ambush. But Hyeong-do's playing it cool, staying tight-lipped, leaving Ra-hoon to think maybe he's just a pawn following orders from the shady company. Talk about a double cross. Realizing that Hyeong-do might just be carrying out some company job, Ra-hoon tries to cut a deal before meeting his end. He's like, "Hey buddy, do me a solid and hook up my mom with all your savings." After laying down his final wish, Hyeong-do wastes no time and swiftly takes care of Ra-hoon, tossing his lifeless body by the riverbank. Mission accomplished, Hyeong-do heads back to the company to meet up with his boss, Jong-tae. Even though Jong-tae sees the task as pretty straightforward, he's not thrilled with how long it took Hyeong-do, thinking it dragged on more than it should have. Ignoring his boss's grumbles, Hyeong-do takes off with his hard-earned cash. Both Hyeong-do and Ra-hoon are part of this special hitman-for-hire crew, and Hyeong-do is like the cream of the crop among them. The company they work for uses a clever disguise as a metal trading business to hide their shady dealings and avoid any pesky police attention. And guess what? They've been pulling off this cover-up routine like pros. During his adventures, Hyeong-do bumps into Ji-hoon, an old-timer and highly respected retired hitman from the same company. Ji-hoon spills the beans about regretting his early retirement, complaining about how tough it is to find a job with a criminal record. Hyeong-do, not one for chit-chat, silently nods in agreement and secretly kicks himself for hanging up his assassin hat too soon, especially considering Ji-hoon's killer skills. Hyeong-do tells Ji-hoon about Ra-hoon's dying wish and asks for his 2 cents. Ji-hoon lays it out straight, telling Hyeong-do to go ahead and fulfill Ra-hoon's last request. It's all about giving his junior's death some meaning and sparing the family with unnecessary grief. Taking Ji-hoon's advice to heart, Hyeong-do swings by Ra-hoon's place to hand over all the savings to his family. But here's the kicker, it turns out. Ra-hoon's mom is none other than Yoo-mi-yeon, a former singer Hyeong-do used to be a big fan of. Talk about a plot twist. Meeting his idol's mom leaves Hyeong-do totally awkward and starstruck. Life's full of surprises, huh? However, Hyeong-do swiftly regained composure, ensuring that his cover remained intact. Upon learning of Hyeong-do's visit and the substantial amount of money, Mi-yeon becomes curious about the source of her son's wealth. Hyeong-do explains that Ra-hoon is an exemplary employee, diligently working hard, which results in the company compensating him generously. Hyeong-do further informs Mi-yeon that Ra-hoon might be away from home for an extended period, as the company has assigned him to work out of town. With the intention of alleviating Mi-yeon's concerns about Ra-hoon, Hyeong-do deliberately shares information about Ra-hoon's work assignment out of town. Subsequently, Hyeong-do encounters the company president, John, who instructs him to eliminate one of their partners, Jin. John is aware that Jin left the company under suspicious circumstances, and to safeguard the company's secrets, he deems Jin a betrayer, warranting his assassination. Despite Jin being Hyeong-do's closest friend, Hyeong-do hesitates initially. However, faced with a direct order from the company president and the potential repercussions of defying it, Hyeong-do reluctantly agrees to carry out the mission. Hyeong-do wastes no time in locating Jin's whereabouts. However, their meeting takes an unexpected turn as Jin manages to gain the upper hand, pointing a gun at Hyeong-do. Jin deduces that Hyeong-do's arrival is a result of an order from their superior to eliminate him, explaining why he refrains from pulling the trigger. Emphasizing his departure from the company, Jin proceeds to physically assault Hyeong-do until he succumbs to unconsciousness. Upon returning to the office, Hyeong-do faces a furious reprimand from Jong-tae for his failure to carry out the assassination, despite his formidable skills. Hyeong-do, maintaining his silence, issues only an apology for the unsuccessful mission. The following day, Jong-tae directs Hyeong-do to assemble a team of assassins. Their collective task is to eliminate a target considered particularly challenging to kill. Recognizing the critical nature of the upcoming assassination, Jong-tae decides against having Hyeong-do carry out the murder solo. He fears the potential for failure and complications, given the significance of the mission. Jong-tae is determined to avoid any mishaps and wants to ensure the success of this important assignment. Following the successful completion of the challenging task with the team of assassins, Hyeong-do takes the opportunity to share a meal with Mi-yeon and her family. To his surprise, Ra-hoon is also present, revealing that Hyeong-do didn't actually kill him, but instead staged his death to provide cover. The reason Hyeong-do spared Ra-hoon and faked his death was to safeguard him from potential threats posed by their own company. Despite being in the hospital all this time, Hyeong-do intentionally misled Mi-yeon about Ra-hoon's status to spare her unnecessary worry. This gesture highlights Hyeong-do's genuine care for Ra-hoon, not just as a junior, but as a close friend. Despite his role as a ruthless assassin, Hyeong-do's compassion extends to those in his inner circle, such as Ra-hoon and Jin. His actions underscore a depth of concern and loyalty that transcends his ominous profession. On a different note, Hyeong-do's relationship with Mi-yeon becomes more intimate as he openly expresses his admiration for her. This shared sentiment contributes to the deepening connection between them. One night, Hyeong-do is urgently summoned by Jong-tae, compelling him to swiftly eliminate Jin. Despite his internal conflict, Hyeong-do succumbs to the pressure and confronts Jin at his residence. A relentless and intense duel unfolds between the two formidable assassins, with Hyeong-do ultimately prevailing after a protracted struggle. However, diverging from expectations, Hyeong-do refrains from delivering the fatal blow. Instead, he opts to bring Jin back to the company, attempting to dissuade him from leaving. In a gesture that goes against his usual role as an assassin, Hyeong-do seeks to persuade Jin to reconsider his decision and remain with the company. Despite Hyeong-do's efforts to convince their superiors, they remain adamant about not accepting Jin back into the company, deeming him a betrayer. Under the threat of dire consequences, they order Hyeong-do to eliminate Jin immediately. With no alternative and faced with the ultimatum, Hyeong-do reluctantly carries out the order, bringing about Jin's demise. In an unexpected turn, Hyeong-do is rewarded with a promotion for his unwavering dedication to the company, despite the internal conflict he faced in executing Jin. Following these events, Hyeong-do, now contemplating a different future, invites Mi-yeon on a date. As their connection deepens, it becomes apparent that Hyeong-do has fallen in love with her. He even entertains the idea of retiring from his life as an assassin to marry Mi-yeon and spend the remainder of his days with her. As Hyeong-do is on the verge of taking Mi-yeon home, they are unexpectedly approached by two police officers inquiring about his alibi regarding a recent murder. Hyeong-do finds himself in a precarious situation as he was captured on camera near the crime scene when the homicide occurred. In an effort to shield his covert identity from Mi-yeon, Hyeong-do decides to cooperate with the police. He provides them with a detailed explanation and displays his company identity card, clearly indicating his association with a metal trading company and not implicating him in the murder. Despite lacking sufficient evidence, the police release him but express their intent to verify his alibi by visiting the company where Hyeong-do is employed. The following day, the police visit the company and coincidentally encounter Hyeong-do, who is maintaining his cover as a sales manager. After providing sufficient evidence to prove Hyeong-do's innocence in the murder case, the police eventually depart. Unbeknownst to the authorities, the entire office staff, including Hyeong-do, consists of assassins who carry out their illicit activities, including murder, in the basement where they store files on their targets. In light of the police suspicion and investigation, Jong-tae admonishes Hyeong-do severely, assigning him the task of resolving the issue. The office serves as a front for their illegal operations, and Jong-tae demands that Hyeong-do manages the situation to prevent exposure. Despite the heightened tension, during a dinner with Mi-yeon, Hyeong-do opens up about his feelings, confessing his love for her and expressing his desire to marry her. Upon hearing Mi-yeon's reciprocation of love and her desire to be with him, Hyeong-do decides to resign immediately from the company, intending to marry her and build a life together. However, reality takes a cruel turn when his own company, perceiving him as a threat, decides to eliminate him. They dispatch two of his junior hitmen to carry out the task. Initially reluctant to resort to violence, Hyeong-do attempts to reason with the hitmen, urging them to leave and avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Unfortunately, the hitmen, bound by their allegiance to the boss's orders, refuse to relent. Faced with no alternative, Hyeong-do is compelled to defend himself, reluctantly taking the lives of the hitmen who were once his juniors. Realizing that the company has betrayed him and is now actively seeking to assassinate him, Hyeong-do takes immediate action to ensure the safety of Ra-hoon and his family. He instructs them to prepare for departure, as he plans to take them to a secure location. Hyeong-do leads Ra-hoon and his family to Ji-hoon's house, seeking refuge and assistance. He implores Ji-hoon to help protect Ra-hoon and his family, while he embarks on a mission of revenge against the company that has turned against him. In a gesture of foresight, Hyeong-do issues an order to Ji-hoon, instructing him to deliver the money to Mi-yeon in the event that he does not survive the retaliatory mission against the treacherous company. This precautionary measure reflects Hyeong-do's determination to safeguard not only Ra-hoon's family, but also to ensure that Mi-yeon is provided for in case of his demise. Having enlisted Ji-hoon's assistance, Hyeong-do finds support in his quest for revenge, ensuring the safety of Ra-hoon and his family. Meanwhile, Mi-yeon, growing increasingly curious and concerned, presses Hyeong-do for an explanation about his true identity and profession. In a moment of honesty, Hyeong-do discloses the unsettling truth. He and Ra-hoon are contract killers, working for a company that orchestrates assassination missions for them, offering substantial compensation in return. The revelation leaves Mi-yeon angered and disappointed by the stark contrast between the man she thought she knew and the reality of his profession. Undeterred by the emotional aftermath, Hyeong-do proceeds with his plans the next day, intending to retrieve the money he had concealed. Aware of the presence of several assassins monitoring his residence and frequented locations, he employs cunning tactics to outsmart them, seize the money, and make a successful escape. Returning to Ji-hoon's house, Hyeong-do is met with shock as he discovers Ji-hoon's betrayal. To Hyeong-do's dismay, Ji-hoon has turned against him and taken Ra-hoon and his family hostage. It becomes clear that Ji-hoon, enticed by the company with a substantial amount of money and a significant position, deliberately betrayed Hyeong-do. Ji-hoon, along with his henchmen, launches an attack on Hyeong-do. Despite the odds stacked against him, Hyeong-do manages to overcome them, defeating Ji-hoon in a confrontation that proves fatal for the former ally. Tragically, during the altercation, Mi-yeon sustains serious injuries and succumbs to them, leaving Hyeong-do in a state of shock and devastation. The betrayal and loss of Mi-yeon mark a profound turning point for Hyeong-do, adding a layer of tragedy to his already tumultuous journey. Fueled by a determination to avenge Mi-yeon's death, Hyeong-do resolves to dismantle the company responsible. The following day, he infiltrates the company's premises, issuing a warning to all employees to evacuate if they wish to avoid death. However, being seasoned assassins, the employees refuse to flee, undeterred by the threat, having anticipated Hyeong-do's actions and prepared for a confrontation. Inevitably, gun battles ensue, with Hyeong-do proving his superior skills by easily dispatching his adversaries. As he approaches the basement, intent on eliminating his boss, Ra-hoon unexpectedly intervenes, coming to Hyeong-do's aid in the critical moment. The unexpected alliance between Hyeong-do and Ra-hoon adds a twist to the unfolding confrontation within the company. Unified in their pursuit of justice, Hyeong-do and Ra-hoon join forces to confront their superiors and successfully overthrow them, bringing about the downfall of the malevolent company. However, the apparent conclusion is disrupted when Jong-tae unexpectedly reappears, launching a vicious attack on Ra-hoon, resulting in severe injuries. In a bold move, Hyeong-do jumps in to rescue Ra-hoon, going head-to-head with Jong-tae in an intense showdown. The battle hits its peak when Hyeong-do, hell-bent on protecting his buddy, tosses Jong-tae out of a window, sealing the deal on their enemies and scoring a big win for justice and revenge. After the chaotic events, Hyeong-do tells Ra-hoon to make a quick exit to dodge the cops. Despite the risks, Hyeong-do decides to face the music and own up to the chaos he caused. Without skipping a beat, Hyeong-do turns himself into the police, ready to deal with whatever consequences come his way. It's a story that drives home the point that even those with a sketchy past or questionable choices can find redemption. The tale underscores the power to change, make amends.
Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.